Big dog. What up, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Hour. My name is Paul Abernathy. What day is it? What day is it? You guessed it. It's hump day. We're at the top of that sinusoidal waveform. We're getting ready to move through the middle of it, and we're getting ready to go down in this waveform of life. Thank you for joining me today on Coffee Hour. My name is Paul Abernathy. If you have never joined me before, where you been? I am quite controversial. I will say just about anything on any platform. You can agree to disagree. You can thumbs down me. You can thumbs up me. You can get in an argument with me. I'll usually block you. But anyway, welcome and thanks for taking the time to be here. So we do this every day, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And we try to get your day going. Okay. We try to get your week going, your day going, get you through whatever you're going through. Again, we know that a lot of people out there are going through all different types of things in life. So for those that are, we're praying for you. For those that are struggling, keep at it, keep working, keep pushing forward, one foot in front of the other. You're going to get there. Just takes time. You'll get it. Again, remember, as always, I live vicariously through you. I love your emails. I love your messages you send. I'm always wishing you the most success in everything you do. You don't have to agree with everything I say. That's perfectly okay. I've gotten to a point in my life where I don't give a shit. So really, I'm in a good place. So I don't worry about what people say and that type of thing. So just want to remind you that it doesn't matter. You can be negative if you want. It's not going to affect me. Also, over in the comments, do me a favor, whatever platform you're on, leave your information, who you are, where you're from, what you got going on. Maybe something's happening in your life you want to share. Maybe you just got licensed. Maybe you're preparing to start your own business. Maybe you're like, D, what do I do? What do I need to get? What are the first things that I need to get to start my own business? What I need to do? All those type of things are open and fair game for us here on Coffee Hour, because that's what we're here for. We're here to have a chat. By the way, if you're looking for an NEC exam prep type of program or to learn the NEC, go to fasttracksystem.com. If you want to watch some great videos, go to Fast Tracks Tube. If you want to read a neat little blog, it's lighthearted, enjoyable little blog, check out Buzz's Adventures over on our blog, on our website. You can't miss it. It's a blog. You'll see it. That type of thing. And also don't forget to do #win to get in on the spin. We have the giveaways. This was September 30th is going to be our Q3 giveaway. And hopefully we'll be able to do that. And anybody that hasn't gotten their stuff yet, you were a little late, maybe sending something from the last quarter, we're going to get to you. We are doing engraving today, so we should be able to catch up on a lot of that type of stuff. Okay. All right. So we'll give some shout outs to everybody. But what I want to talk about, what is today's topic? So let me set the tone because I have a certain methodology to how I post things. And so people on social media, for example, TikTok, let's focus on TikTok today. We have a holier than thou type of crowd. And I might come in and make a comment, and I'm trying to not be mean. I'm trying to be educational when I make a comment, but some people want to rush to the comments. And before they even watch the video, they'll start rushing to comment, whether we're talking about insulation resistance testing or MEG testing, whatever, or in this case, voltage. So I had a young gentleman on TikTok. If you haven't seen the video, I did one where he stated that 277 in 480 were high voltage. Okay. So what I did was I stated that is not the case. 277, 480 is still considered low voltage, 100% accurate. What I went on to say, as far as in my classification, and you got to remember, this is not written anywhere solid because you have IEEE's values, you have with the NEC, you have other standards that you may get trained to that classify voltages in different ranges. For example, what is a low voltage versus medium voltage versus high voltage? And I know you folks have probably struggled with that, saying, okay, is 480 high voltage? No, it's low voltage. Is 120 low voltage? Yes. Is 50 volts low voltage? Yes. It's all low voltage. That doesn't diminish the requirement to be safe when you work with it, right? Means to have the proper PPE, the proper protection. I can get killed just as quick on a 120 as I could on a 480. Just as quick. Now, the arc flash intensity and all that type of stuff, which deals with OSHA and other ratings and all, totally different beast. This video was about an electrician who was sitting in a residential setting in a house, was answering a question and said that 120, 240 volts is low. Anything over that is high voltage. That's an incorrect statement. That's what I was dealing with. Then I went on to explain what I believe the NEC doesn't clearly state, but it's what I believe is that anything 2,000 volts or less is still low voltage. And that anything over 2,000 is medium voltage up to 35,000. And the reason that I come up with my belief in this is from the wire and cable industry, we make products in different classes. So the voltages, and as well as the NEC, when it's talks about ampacity, it's 2,000 volts and less, and then it's those that are over 2,000 because that's the voltage rating. All right. So, and then it allows us to pick the amps based on that voltage rating. So that's how I've always taught it. And the reason that I teach it that way, and some people say, well, you're not correct, Paul. That traditional way of teaching it, it'd be 1,000 volts or less is low, over 1,000 up to 35,000 is medium, and over 35,000 is high. If that's how you want to do it, and that keeps you in that safe zone, have at it. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Very rarely will you work with any products in those voltage classes that are not going to be medium voltage over 2,000, low voltage under 1,000. You've got this little window from 1,000 to 2,000, which when it comes to AC is a very rare area to be playing with because there's not a lot of applications, especially in building wire and most certainly residential. But it never fails. I go posting something on TikTok or any of those platforms trying to educate. You get the trolls that'll come in and make comments like they're the authority, although they don't have you go look at it, they got 10 people that follow. Okay. But at the end of the day, we make wire for, if you look in the NEC, it's been broken down into 1,000 volts or less and over 1,000 volts. But it doesn't stipulate that it's low voltage, right? Now, we have what we think of as low voltage. When we go look at 725 for signaling and control, we start working with all those class 2, class 3. We go, wow, that's low voltage. Then what exactly is 120, 240? If you're going to say that that is low voltage, and I get it. People go, well, that's low voltage. Then what the hell is 120, 240, 277, 208, and 480? What is it? Are you going to tell me it's medium voltage? Well, there's no classification for low voltage. It's just low voltage. So what is 120? Low voltage. Okay. Now, when it comes to various, and it can be all over the place, but you'll see in the National Electrical Code, it doesn't start making a mention typically of medium voltage until it gets to over 2000 volts. Now, it does talk about wiring methods for over 1000, but it doesn't call it medium voltage. It just says for 1000 and less and over 1000, which in my mind, I still call low voltage. I don't start getting into medium voltage until I'm working with products that are rated for medium voltage. Now, with that said, people can say, Paul, you're wrong. You're full of shit. That's fine. You believe whatever you want to believe. Okay. You can say 1000 and less is low. Over 1000 to 35,000 is medium, and over that is high. If that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, go for it. There are various standards. I spent about an hour looking at all different types of standards, and none of them are extremely specific. Okay, they range from 1000 and less to over 1000 to 35, and then over that. And I had some documents that didn't say certain values didn't start until it got up to 65,000 when it came to high, whereas I start that threshold at over 35,000. The point of the matter is, it never fails when you try to educate somebody. There's always somebody who thinks they know more, and that's okay. That's fine. In that scenario, you're not going to convince me because I'm a wiring cable guy. And a wiring cable guy, we classify products in voltage classes, and we classify anything 2000 volts lower as low voltage. Anything that's medium is over 2000 up to 35,000, and anything over that is high. That's how we classify it. That's how I express it. If you don't like it, then don't listen to me. That's fine. TikTok. If you don't like it, don't listen to me. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to subscribe to me. You don't have to do shit because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to still do what I do every day anyway, despite it. I'm not here to be people's friend. I'm here to teach. And if you say, well, that's teaching it wrong, Paul. If you think, and I'm an NEC guy, right? I only teach the NEC. I don't give a shit about OSHA. I don't give a shit about your local rules. I don't give a crap about anything local to you. I only care about the National Electrical Code. That is all I care about. People say, well, Paul, how can you teach it? You got to care about all these other things. No, I do not. I am an NEC guy. That is it. As far as the National Electrical Code goes, it does not define low, medium, and high. The closest we get to it in the NEC is going to be where it makes a very distinct differentiation between medium being over 2000 volts. That's when we talk about ampacities, right? 315. We start talking about in 310.16, we start talking about 2000 volts and less, and we start talking about ampacities. That's where we tie it all in. And one of the key factors for me, okay, one of the key factors for me is that, and here's my mission. The reason I explained that video that way on TikTok was because I do not want electricians to discount 120 and 240 volt applications. I do not want people to immediately say that 277 and 480, even though it has an arc risk that may be higher for sustained arc due to the voltage. I know people have been hurt, and I have personal people that I know that have been killed on 120 volts. So the reason that I say this, low voltage, 2000 and less, is because I do not want anybody to put 480, 277, or 208 in a separate category as a 120. But I'm not going to say it's medium voltage because it brings in a whole different context of what wire you have to use, what wiring method you have to use, other types of protections you have to put on when you're dealing with medium voltage class stuff. So in my mind, regardless of what anybody ever says, I will never, ever consider anything over 1000 but under 2000 as medium voltage. You do what you want. You believe what you want, okay? That's up to you, right? and it depends on the standard that you're following. To me, I don't care. That's where I'm at, and you can't change my mind because that's where I've been in the industry. But when I teach people and I say things like 277 and 480 are low voltage, it doesn't matter what realm of the world you're in, it's still under 1,000 volts. It's low voltage. It is not high or medium voltage. So that was my intent of correcting the gentleman, but I went on to give my belief in where the lines are, because the NEC doesn't differentiate that. It only gives you different types of applications for when it's 1,000 and less and over 1,000. But it doesn't say that 1,000 and less is low voltage and over 1,000 is medium voltage. It doesn't, because that's why in the NEC you end up jumping into 305 and 315, because that has to do with medium voltage, and that's where the 2,000 and higher kick in. That's why I teach it that way. So if folks on TikTok don't get that, that's perfectly okay. Can't stand that platform anyway. So it's good anyway. Okay. All right. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And I probably will finish today for the first time ever right at 1 hour, because I don't have a presentation for you. We can go look at the NEC and show you that I'm an NEC guy. So we're going to talk it. So if you have questions, please feel free to let me know. But I am a realist. I try to break things down so it's easy to understand. Because you know what? The guys that come in there and post something that's there, maybe they say they're engineer, and they post something. Look, I talk to the everyday electrician, and I was talking to that electrician. And on TikTok and all these other platforms, I'm only here to teach electricians. I'm not here for the engineers. I'm not here for the builders. I'm not here for the plumbers, mechanical. I'm only here for you, the electrician. Okay? So an electrician's not going to have all these other documents and other standards to go digging through to say, well, I need to find the technical threshold for all of these voltages. Bullshit, people. You need somebody who's not going to candy coat the crap and give you the honest skinny. The National Electrical Code talks about wiring methods and installation, 1,000 volts and less and over 1,000 volts. When it specifically talks about product use and installation applications for medium voltage, it always starts it at 2,000, over 2,000, okay? This is why I teach it this way, because that's the practical way you as an electrician are going to do it, because you're not going to have access to other books, right? You're not going to have access to engineering documents. And if you go look through the NEC, which is the book you're going to be using every day, you're not going to be using those other books. The book you're going to be using every day is not going to give you a distinctive statement of low voltage, medium voltage, high voltage. It doesn't do it. So all these other educators out there can candy coat it around it, and they look for their cherry-picked opportunities to say, well, Paul's wrong. He's wrong. It's medium voltage starts at over 1,000 volts. And I'm like, you do you, boo. I'm telling you, I only teach the NEC, and the NEC doesn't kind of give it to you that way. Okay? It allows me to use different wiring methods and different applications and different criteria, whether it's 1,000 volts or less or over 1,000 volts. That's it. But when it comes to medium, it specifically starts at over 2,000. That's the way I have to teach it, because that's the way the NEC depicts it. Until the NEC says verbatim, this is low, this is medium, this is high. Now, 99% of you out there will never, ever do anything over 1,000 volts. And you'll most certainly never do anything over 2,000 volts. And I am most certainly not here to say that I am a medium voltage expert. I am not. I can teach you the code, but I am not a medium voltage, and I certainly as hell am not a high voltage expert. There are people, and if those experts say it differently, that's okay. All right? I'm just saying. All right, enough said. Let's go on and live vicariously through you folks. Let me know what you got going on. Let's go through some good mornings here, and then we'll just continue on the discussion, and we'll even look at the National Electrical Code, and we'll even ask Trade Hog, because I bet we can probably stump Trade Hog today and ask them some voltage questions. Let's see. Because again, there are people out there that literally do feel like that anything over 1,000 up to 35,000 is medium voltage. And again, some standards may say that. It's not what I say. You don't have to listen to me. Okay. You can say I'm wrong. Hold your breath. You say I'm wrong over on TikTok, I'll just ban you. Because again, I don't ban anywhere else, but TikTok, I can't stand the platform. I'm forced to do it by my board of directors, although I could override them and say no. I go live on here every morning before the show, but I interact on TikTok, things like that. But do I like the platform in general? No, I wouldn't lose sleep if the thing was banned tomorrow. But yes, I use it, so I'm a hypocrite. I do use it, so I get it. I'm a realist, okay? All right. What's up, Crypto? Good morning. Glad to have you on the show. What's up, JPB? Welcome from Huntsville, Alabama's up in the house. Hump Day. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see here. What's up, JC? I see you in there. What's up, Peter? Glad to have you here, Peter. What is up, Paul? Glad to have you here out in Houston. All of you folks that are up early out there in Central Time and out there on the West Coast. Appreciate you coming. What's up, Marlon? Glad to have you here. What's up, Keith? Hey, Keith, what are your thoughts on that? You know, you're an NEC guy. I know that you might know other standards that put the voltages differently, but I'm just saying from my perspective, I'm dealing with electricians. That's how I have to teach it. And the biggest thing for me is I don't want people to get complacent with 12240. That's why I teach it that way. I don't want them to all of a sudden treat 480 as something that is worse than a 12240. I want you to respect it no matter what the voltage is. So let's keep it in the low voltage, keep them all in it. Again, 480 is not high voltage or medium voltage anyway, so it makes sense to teach it that way. What's your thought? That's just how I do it. Let's see, what do we got here? Corbin, welcome. Glad to have you here. Let's see, Santana. Good morning, nerds. Glad to have you all here. Sven is in the house. Good morning. Glad to have you here. What's up, Jonathan? Glad to have you here, my friend. Welcome. Let's see what else we got here. Yingling is in the house. Mr. Yingling, here we go. Good morning. Last day of work week. Taking the wife to Virginia Beach for Alison Krauss concert. That's what I'm talking about. I love me some Alison Krauss. Absolutely. What's up, Chad? Good morning. Welcome. Tara, out there on Joe Wheeler Lake. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Let's see here. What's up, Skiato? Skididdly-doo. What's up? Glad to have you here. Good morning. What do we got? Manny's in the house. I'm sure Manny's on all these platforms. What's up, Manny? Glad to have you here. Good morning. Let's see. Everybody throwing that hashtag win in there. I see it. What's up, Brandon? Good morning from Houston, Texas down there. Good morning. What is it? Elon shot off his missile yesterday. His rocket, his big number 10, big super heavy. That looks cool as hell. I don't know if it was supposed to blow up at the end like that, but it did. But just amazing that we can send something that big up there and then bring it back. It's still crazy. What's up, Angel? I am good today. I cannot complain. I am jacked up, so that is good. What's up, Leo from up in Seattle, up in the rainy state? Welcome. What's up, Petey? Glad to have you here, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who else we got here? Ralph is in the house. What's up, Ralph? Welcome. Glad to have you here. Rob. Good morning, Rob. Glad to have you here. Let's see here. Good morning, Justin R. Glad to have you here, Justin. Welcome. Frank the Great's in the morning show. What's up, fella? JC says more than 600 is high. Nah, I don't agree with that, but you know what? You do you, boo. You do you, boo. Let's see. Good morning, Angel. Glad to have you here. So basically, JC, you're just skipping over medium voltage. You just say, screw it. Anything over 600 just jump straight to high voltage. I get you. What's up, AJ? I always thought 600 above was medium. For some people it is, but you got to remember we make building wire that is 1,000 volt rated, and it's for use on normal building wire systems. So it wouldn't be classified and meet all additional requirements that medium voltage would meet, that type of thing. So we'll look at that in the code here in a minute. What's up, Jason? Good morning. Another CMECP in the house. Glad to have you here. Adrian, good morning. Glad to have you here. Let's see here who we got. Lou. Lou, good morning. Glad to have you here. Looks like a new name. I haven't seen you before here, Lou. Let's see. Frank says, "Oh, the morning is not the same without your knowledge every morning." And this morning, you had to hear my opining about TikTok and the whining of people over in TikTok. Let's see here. The plant I worked for at high voltage, I worked 69K. Now that is high voltage. Okay. The voltage, take one. The interesting thing about that is that it only takes a tenth of an amp to kill you no matter what the voltage is. Voltage is just pressure. Okay. So when you get shocked, the potential, and your body has a certain amount of resistance in it. Obviously, you're sweating, perspiring, or wet, or whatever. And men and women have different levels of skin insulation, that barrier. So at the end of and it's various ohms. It only takes a tenth of an amp to kill you if you get you hooked up right. So I used to tell people all the time, we don't need to pump 50,000 volts through somebody and electrocute them. You know what? Get a good electrician at your local prison. It could probably do it with a regular 15 amp circuit, because again, it only takes a tenth of an amp. We can save everybody a lot of money. And they say, yeah, but it'll prolong the pain. I don't care. They're in prison for a reason. They're getting executed for a reason. So I'm saying, whatever, a little pain, suck it up. Take it for the team. Take it for the team. All right. Anyway, that's just my personal belief. Sorry. Didn't mean to interject that. Good morning, David. Nothing like social media keyboard know-it-alls. Yep, that is right. And I'm probably one of those. I'm just saying, but that's okay. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want, right? What's up, Poppy? Good morning. Glad to have you in here. Okay. You are here. You are here for the people. That's right. Brandon, what's up? I had a guy argue with me saying that it is permissible to use a meter can as a raceway for secondary conductors, not breaking it through a meter enclosure. No. Now you can go from a meter and you can go through multiple enclosures to get from point A to point B. You could do that because, again, there's certain allowances in the code as long as you don't exceed a certain cross-sectional area. I can come from a meter, for example, and come down and run two sets of conductors, one through one disconnect, and then have the conductors continue on into a secondary disconnect side by side. That would be fine, that type of thing. But typically, now in a meter, I could have a meter where I have two sets coming out of a meter. That's very typical, for example, for a 400 amp applications, right? But no, not just used as a raceway and passing through. I don't believe that would be acceptable. Let's see here. What's up, Joe? Oh, by the way, folks, I got to mute. Manny didn't remind me this morning, so I need to mute TikTok because otherwise I get inundated with stuff. Let's say good morning, Paul. Current and future Sparkies, welcome again. Thank you, John, for joining us. Paul says, I'm so glad you're talking about this because I did not know where low voltage, medium voltage, and high voltage starts and ends. See, that's the problem, Paul, is that we have so many people on social media, and all I'm trying to do is, from an NEC perspective, tell people where they should keep their thresholds in their mind. Because if you don't go to special class or you don't get another document that says it different, people say, well, we learned this different in IBEW. Okay, I have a guy in a couple of posts that says this is exactly how they taught it. The same way that I teach it is the same way they taught it. It's all over the place. One, the NEC doesn't differentiate, so you have to use deductive logic. Now they say, well, go to OSHA. OSHA says that it's 1,000 volts or less is low, over 1,000 to 35,000 is medium, and over that is high. Okay, if that's how you want to do it, that's fine. The fact of the matter is, from 1,000 to 2,000, there's hardly any application. It's usually 1,000 volts or less, especially for us electricians, right? Down mostly 600 volts, but you get it, right? And then you've got that magic area between 1,000 and 2,000, which probably more applicable to 1,500 DC or something like that, or a PV application. And then you've got the over 2,000. So again, the reason I teach it is because I teach electricians. I'm not going to ask you to go get an IEEE document. I'm not going to ask you to go get some OSHA document. Because for this guy that was in that video, he's in a residential. OSHA doesn't apply. Oh, yes, it does. Oh, no, it doesn't. apply in the residential application, commercial applications. So at the end of the day, all I'm saying is, how do I teach it to somebody so that they can understand it and wrap their head around it practically? And how do I teach it so that somebody doesn't take one voltage and discount it as being safer than another? But yet I don't want to call it high voltage because that's not what it is. So 120, 240, 208, 277, 480, all of those are low voltage. The NEC doesn't say any different. Now, again, that 1,000-volt threshold is for wiring methods and application. 1,000 volts or less, they want you to do something this way. Over 1,000 volts, they want you to do something this way. When you start getting into things like 2,000 volt, over 2,000 volts, that's where you're going to be talking about medium voltage. And that's why you've got specific articles that deal with medium voltage. Okay. So without the NEC, again, and I'll repeat this over and over because that's what today's show is all about. So, and for you to ask questions, ask your questions. That's the reason we teach it that way. And I think the people on TikTok and the other people that the keyboard warriors, yeah, they may know a different standard, or they may believe differently, or they may be taught through an engineer or whatever. And they go, well, technically, Paul, 1,000 volts or less. And it's the same thing with the mega ohm testing. The moment I call it mega ohm meter testing, somebody jumps in there and goes, I think you accurately, Paul, mean insulation resistance testing. Okay, so I'm going to jump on everybody now on all these social medias that make a reference to the word subpanel. Even though we know subpanel is not what we're talking about. We're talking about remote distribution panel or a downstream load center or whatever type of thing. But we know what we're talking about. So I stopped picking on people for that shit years ago. I'm like, dude, I know what you're talking about. I deal with electricians. And it's important for me, and in that guy's video, it was important for me to make it very clear that when he went from 120 to 240 and then said that 277 was high, that moment that he did that, it was important for me to say, you know what? That is not high voltage. That's still low voltage. Right? And then I went on and gave my opinion, and some people liked it and some didn't, but that's what it is. Yeah, love-hate relationship with TikTok. Yeah, I can't stand the platform. A Chinese platform. I just can't stand it. But I'm there because I know I get it. I'm there, so I'm a hypocrite. I understand. I still don't like it. Good morning, Joseph. Oh, let's see. Brandon says, and I'm talking about the individual branch circuits. He had indoor load centers that are being abandoned and being turned into junction boxes and new exterior panel. Yeah, running stuff all over the place. Got to be careful. Obviously, in a meter, you got service conductors, and you can't have anything in there but service conductors. In a meter enclosure, can't have anything else running through there. Whereas a panel, you could have branch, feeder, and service running through a panel. Yeah. So you'd be surprised what people get away with all over the country. You'd be surprised. Let's see. Somebody just said in TikTok, they said they just passed their test yesterday. Congratulations to whoever that is over on TikTok. Got their license. Whoop, whoop. I don't know if I do. I have some music. I have some audio for you. There you go. I don't know if y'all can hear it on TikTok, but I'm applauding you. Congratulations. All right. Anyway. Where was I at? Larry, good morning. Glad to have you here. Chris B, good morning. Glad to have you here. What do we got? Juan, good morning, brother, from Houston. Well, you're most welcome, and thanks for joining us this morning. Okay, let's see here. What do we got here? Mike, Alex, good morning, everyone. He's doing a shout out to everybody saying, what's up, what's up? Let's see here. And Chris is actually watching from Fast Tracks Tube. Yep, so it must be working over there. There you go, Fast Tracks Tube. Let's see here. What else do we got here? Josh says Shawshank Redemption electric chair is a good watch. Yeah. Let's see here. What does Keith say here? Agree. OSHA states anything over 600 volt. It also states 250 volt DC is high. And also depends on, also depends on the limit. So high voltage or extra training, and it has it. Yeah. So it can be all over the place, right? But that's OSHA. Well, residential folks, that residential electricians in most applications, they're going to be, they're going to be dealing with the 120, 240 volt. But even like you said, the point of the video to the gentleman was that 277 and 480 is not high voltage. Now, OSHA might say over 600 is high, but see, that's even a problem, right? Because, and that's the problem. There's nobody that comes out and defines it. I might be one of the first that ever defines it, if you think about it. Because look at OSHA. If OSHA says that over 600, Keith, is high voltage, then where's medium into play? We have medium voltage, we have high voltage, we have low voltage. Where does it come into the spectrum? So this is why I formed my mentality of how I say 2000 and less, low, be safe regardless of it up to 2000 anyway. You obviously are going to have to do a little extra when it comes to medium voltage, right? A little training, a little extra protection. And then, of course, high voltage is over 35,000. So that is how I would describe it. But again, OSHA may say, but you know what, Keith? How many electricians, regular electricians, everyday cable jockeys, everyday work, how many of them have a copy of OSHA? Dude, I don't even have a copy of OSHA. So we have to teach it in a way that they understand, right? And so you get what I mean? That's what I get. But yeah, I get it. So even then, I even looked at one standard this morning when I was looking, and they will say it differently. They say over 1,000. And another one I saw was like me at 2,000. Again, it really depends, but I have to give somebody a foundation. And again, my biggest concern is that people will take the 277 and 480, raise it to such a level, right? And then 240 and 120, they will act like it's not a big deal, that it's low voltage, and then start getting lax on it, and then people get hurt, okay? I'm just saying, it only takes 1/10 of an amp to kill you. It doesn't matter what the voltage is. It's not the volts that get you, it's the amps, okay? So at the end of the day, 1/10 of an amp. That's why we have GFCIs, right? That's why we have all that protection. All right, let's see. Here we go here. It says some people could confuse low voltage and high voltage on motors for low and high. Right? Well, if we're talking motors, maybe they're looking at low and high speeds. Maybe it's a dual speed motor or thing like it. There's all kinds of different things. Okay, that type of thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's go on over to the hog, and I'm sure the hog will get confused because this is not defined. Okay, and remember, the hog is pulling information from the internet and stuff that we feed it. But I can promise you, the NEC stuff that we feed it, right, is not going to be trying to tell the hog that 2,000 volts or less is low voltage, right? And anything over that. So I'm pretty sure that the hog is not going to understand that. In fact, it's probably going to get confused because that's not what the hog does. It's basically a code reference. And since the NEC doesn't depict that, okay, probably it's not going to be accurate. Well, let's go on and ask the hog right here. Okay. So how do we want to ask it? Okay. I will say in electrical work, remember it's crap in, crap out. In electrical work, is 120 volts, 240 volts, 208 volts, 240 volts. Oops, already got 240 volts. Oh, let me do it this way. 208 volts, 240 volts. Oops. 277 volts and 480 volts considered low voltage. Okay. How's that? Does that look like a good question? Take care, Tom. Have a good day. Stay safe. All right, so let's send it. Let's see what the hog has to say. All right. It says, in the context of electrical work, okay, this is the hog. I'll blow it up for you guys so you can see a little better. Maybe you can see a little better. That a little better? It says, in the context, good morning, Samantha. Glad you have you here. It says, in the context of electrical work, the term low voltage can vary depending on the specific standard or code being referenced. According to the National Electrical Code, voltages up to 600 volts are considered low voltage. So there you go. So there's your 600. Okay. So this includes all of those we just talked about. The NEC does not explicitly define low voltage in terms of a specific voltage range, but it also categorizes system under 600 volts for low voltage for purposes of wiring and equipment standards. Right? Now watch. Now watch this. See, so it doesn't know, right? It doesn't know. So watch what happens when I correct it, because I do have knowledge. And this is how you work in artificial intelligence, because you do have knowledge. It says, you go, but the NEC says 1,000 volts or less and over 1,000 volts, and has separate articles for 2,000 volts and higher for medium voltage installations. So, where are you getting the 600 volt threshold in the 2023 NEC? Okay. All right. So let's ask it that question. Say it's trying to learn, and this also helps the model learn, right? So you are correct that the NEC 2023 is updated its terminology and classification regarding voltage level. The NEC now generally considers systems operating at 1,000 volts or less as low voltage. This is reflective of blah, 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 blah. It says the 600 volt threshold was more commonly referenced in the older editions of NEC, but the current 2003 is shifted to using 1,000 volts or less defined. For example, 490 covers equipment over 1,000 volts, while 210, 215, 220 covers that yada yada. Okay, and okay, so it's now it's for example, it's learning. It's saying okay, 1,000 volts or less is low voltage, right? Which is fine, because you're going to not find many things in here. And then, so the question here is, so I'm going to ask it again. So are you telling me, I love to battle the AI, are you telling me that over 1,000 volts to 2,000 volts is medium voltage? Since the voltage values on 305 article, watch this. I love this, is teaching the model, by the way. Okay, the values on article 305 and 315 state for medium voltage installations. Watch this. It starts at over 2,000 volts. All right, now watch. Let's see what it says. In the NEC, the term medium voltage is typically used to describe systems operating over 1,000 volt, but specific articles such as 305 and 315 address medium voltage installations starting at over 2,000. This distinction is important because the NEC provides specific requirements for these installations. Low voltage, generally 1,000 volts or less, as per the NEC. Medium voltage, while the NEC does not explicitly define medium voltage as a single definition, and it doesn't do it at low voltage either, it often refers to the systems that are over 1,000 volts. However, these specific articles of systems starting at over 2,000 volts indicate that medium voltage installations are typically considered to begin at this level of certain applications. Okay, so therefore, in context, Article 305 and 315 medium voltage installations are those over 2,000 volt, aligns with the industry practice, where medium voltage is often considered to start at 2,000 volts or higher. So y'all see what I'm talking about? It's very hard even for a model like an artificial intelligence to differentiate the NEC. So it takes talking heads like me to be able to come in and try to bridge this gap. Now, if you want to go and believe that 1,000 volts or less is low voltage and anything over 1,000 is medium voltage, that's fine. Because I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to go install medium voltage products. You're not going to install any over 1,000 volt medium voltage up to 2,000. You're not. They're either going to be 2,500, or they're going to be 5,000, or they're going to be 15,000 volts, or going to be 35,000 volts. They're all going to be truly medium voltage. So my way of explaining it is for the everyday electrician. Did you get this, TikTok? The everyday electrician. Treat 2000 and less as low voltage, even though you're probably never going to do anything over 1000 up to 2000. You're never going to do anything in that voltage class, probably. So most all the stuff you're going to do is going to be under 1000. So again, it's all low voltage, even 480 is low voltage. And when you truly are doing medium voltage, you're going to go into the specific installation articles of the NEC, which are going to tell you that it's 2000 or more. Now, how do I know this to be true? This is why I don't know. I don't know what happened with the audio. Did the audio cut out? What platform are you guys on that this audio is cutting out on? Because I think it's going to be specific to another. For if you're not on the channel, let me see which one is you on. Okay, we're back on. So I don't know why that lost the sound. I have no idea why going to that page lost the sound. Let me see real quick if I. Let me add to this here. Okay, so you should y'all hear me now, right? Everybody hear me now? Okay, I guess I lost it probably because I didn't have anything I didn't have my voice activated on that page. So can y'all all hear me now? Okay, you're back. Okay, so what I wanted to point out is, let me go back and point this out since I wasn't there. This is where medium voltage threshold starts, right? If you look at the beginning, okay, I got to redo this over. The scope of medium voltage, right here. This article includes 2001 volts through 35,000, and it proceeds to give you the installation requirements. It proceeds to give you securing and supporting it ampacity values for the over 2,000 volts up to 35. Okay, like I told you before, nothing in here, nothing in 305 talks about medium voltage. It is just for installations that are going to be over 1,000 volts. And then you have installations that are under 1,000. That doesn't change in my mind in the NEC. That does not change anything to me. That's why I come up with the mentality that I come up with, because it's not until you get down to things like 315, for example, where it specifically calls out medium voltage for the conductors, the cables, terminations, and joints, that it is very specific voltage class, right? And it's got all of these requirements in here. So, if you look in the NEC, that is why I come up with the facts that it's going to be the issue is going to be that you actually have to draw the line somewhere, right? Because if you look in the NEC, and electricians do this every day, you haven't taken an OSHA class, you haven't gone to an OSHA class, you haven't gone to some other training. People tell you all kinds of things. I'm trying to simplify life for people, because you're really probably not going to do anything over 1,000 and under 2, that magic area. 1,000 and less, you might get into it. You might deal with a variable frequency drive that pushes the voltage over 600 volts. You may be in that magical window there, right? And so at the end of the day, as long as you don't take 480, 277, 240, 208, 120 for granted, and realize that don't kick it into high voltage just because it's 277, 480. It's still low voltage, but you respect it the same way you would 120, 240, 208, 277, 480. Respect it all the same. Okay? That's all I'm saying. I know people, I have a friend that was killed. I would say he's a friend. It wasn't like a friend where we talk every day, but he was killed on a simple 120 volt circuit. And so at the end of the day, I just want you to be careful. So when I teach people this, and when I did that TikTok video, I was basically using my knowledge of the NEC because nobody defines it. And I don't have people jump in there that's from IEEE, or somebody that jumps in there from OSHA and say, well, that's technically not correct. And you said that guy wasn't correct. No, I was right, because he was calling 277, 480 high voltage. It is not. That's my point. And then I proceed to let you know what I believe is the right way to be looking at the NEC. It's the way I believe it. Okay. All right. Hopefully that straightens that up. So that's what you got in the NEC. Now, people can agree to disagree. That doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. Okay? But that's what you saw with Trade Hog. Anything else y'all want me to ask? Anything you want to ask the hog about that? Okay. So here I'll ask it to see if it learns. I'm gonna ask it. I'm gonna see if it learns. I'm gonna say, so basically, anything 2,000 volts or less is technically low voltage, and anything 2001 volts up to 35,000 is medium voltage for the everyday electrician. Okay, let's see what Trade Hog says. And sometimes trade hog can be stubborn. Okay. So it is stubborn. It is still saying in the context of the NEC, it considers 1,000 volts or less to be all of these low voltage, but it reminds us that it doesn't specifically define low voltage in the category. So medium voltage considered above 1,000. However, the NEC does give us articles like 305 and 315 for medium voltage starting at 2,000. So basically, medium voltage is often considered to range from 2,001 to 35,000 in industry practice, although the NEC does not explicitly define the range. High voltage considered above 35,000. Okay. For everyday installation, electrician installation, 1,000 volts or less are most commonly encountered and are generally considered low voltage. Medium voltage installations, which start at over 2,000 volts, according to certain NEC articles, require specific knowledge, training, right? And that type of thing. Okay. So again, as you can see, it is all over the place. And all I'm trying to do is bring context so that you guys, I mean, be honest. Let's be honest, guys. Really honest. How many of you, before we had this discussion, truly even knew that whether, some of you said 600 volts, right? And really knew if you were to be sit down, did you know the thresholds, at least as it applies to the National Electrical Code, knowing that a residential electrician, everything that you work with is low voltage. Everything that a residential electrician messes with, low voltage. Even 12 volts, 24 volts, 36 volts. It's all low voltage. There is no definition of low voltage. The closest we get to that is calling it class 2 and class 3 and power limited and all that kind of stuff. But as far as the code's concerned, the NEC doesn't do that. And the 9.5%, 9.99999% of all electricians that are out there do not get training that would kind of explain the different classes of voltage for you. All you know is if you go do a medium voltage application, I can guarantee you it's going to be over 2,000 volts. If it's medium voltage, guarantee you. If you go do a low voltage application, I guarantee you it's going to be under 2,000 volts. And more chances are it's probably going to be under 1,000. So all I try to do, and people can agree to disagree, I don't care. All I'm trying to give you is a fundamental way to put it in a perspective. 2,000 and less, low voltage, doesn't matter, okay? It's what you're going to use it for, okay? And you're going to probably be under 1,000 anyway. So in reality, you're probably going to be under 600 for most all you do. So that is just low voltage. Good enough. It's all low voltage. Respect it. Medium voltage, by the chance you electricians ever do anything with medium voltage, I can promise you it's going to be over 2,000 volts. Probably more like 5,000 or 15,000 or something like that, or 10,000. It's going to be a higher voltage rating for medium voltage. Okay? Guarantee. So all I'm trying to do is set the tone for understanding where they break off. The NEC breaks off at 1,000, and that's for installation practices. But it doesn't define that as the threshold of medium and low. It doesn't define it, right? It doesn't say that this is this and this is that, okay? Okay? It doesn't say that. Now, one of the reasons that an OSHA standard may say 600 and not be rechecked to 1,000 is also because it wasn't very many cycles ago that the NEC went to 1,000 and changed from 600 and less and over 600. So this is installation. So you have more stringent requirements on an installation that's over 1,000 volts. And that's why we have a specific article that deals with applications that are over 1,000 volts. But that doesn't necessarily make it medium voltage, okay? So if we go back and look at the NEC and we go to that 499, right? Let's just go there. Let's look at it. All right, so now it's 495. So here we go, 495. So here it talks about equipment. So this is for specific equipment that is used over 1,000 volts AC. Okay, you see this little in new right here. Okay, so articles have been jumping around a little bit. All right, it says this article covers general requirements for equipment operating at more than 1,000 volts. Okay, all right. Doesn't remove the OSHA NFPA 70E, doesn't remove that, which may have something different. And if I go look at here, you'll just show, let's see here, this just shows where things have changed. There you go. So you see in the 2014 edition, the thresh voltages changed from 600 to 1,000. All right, I'm getting ready to lose TikTok, no big loss, but we'll go fix them up real quick. All right, and all this type of stuff right here. All right, so you see where some of the language has changed, right? So anyway, that's my point. So the point being that we were trying to differentiate and at least make it a little easier for electricians. But I will strongly defend that I do not want electricians thinking that 208, 277, 480 is anything different than low voltage. That's it. And the reason for that is I don't want you to lose respect for the 120 and 240. I don't. I want you to remember that it only takes 1/10 of an amp to kill you, right? And if you get your body across it, then you could get locked up on it. You could have a crappy installation, and I want you guys to stay safe. I don't want anybody going into a regular 240 volt panel. I know we remove covers. We work in it. We're professionals. We know how to work around this stuff. There's insulated parts. We get it. We're not touching anything, right? But it's also got to remember that I do not want social media, TikTok tricians and other people, DIYers, to watch those videos and think, oh shit, I don't need to worry. 120, 240 volts low. Yeah, that's low. I don't have to worry about it. It's not nearly as important as a 277, 480. That is not the message that I want to send. And I don't like when they send that message. That's why I did that. That's why I commented on the video. If I hurt somebody's feelings on it, I don't give a shit. I really don't. I stopped caring long ago. I'm going to do me, and that's how I do it. Okay. JC says, honestly, to me, high voltage is when you get on a power pole and start working on those power lines. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I agree with you, JC, because anything up on the power pole is going to be 75,000, 1350, or even higher. Okay. That could be medium voltage range because they've stepped it down. All I know is for me, it is over 2,000. It is outside of the scope of what I want to work with. Okay. I am not a medium voltage guy, and I am not a high voltage guy. I truly respect what those dudes do. I would not. I think we lost 3 people a month ago or 2. There was something I saw in my feed where a couple linemen got killed, and it's tragic. That's why we have important things like interlocks and transfer switches and all this stuff, so that in power outages, we're not backfeeding things. Again, they test these things. I get it. But everybody gets complacent. Okay. I think that's my point. Everybody gets complacent. And I just don't want people thinking that 120, 240 volt is so safe that I don't have to think twice about messing with it. Again, we do this every day, but just think about it. Every time and I say electricians are used to getting shocked. I hope not. I think I've only been shocked a couple times in my life, and that was when I was a young apprentice and I didn't, or a young student, and I really was getting careless. When I got older and I realized that I want to come home every day, I took precautions. Now, if I'm in a room hanging a luminaire and there's a switch right there and it's a single pole, I don't know if the homeowner is going to come running in the room. Do I go turn the breaker off? I'm going to be honest with you. I might not, but I can tell you what I do. I go over to the switch, turn it off, and put a piece of electrical tape over it so that they don't mess with it. If you're stupid enough to see a piece of electrical tape on a switch and you come walking into the room and you're like, ooh, let me remove this tape and turn it on. I can't fix stupid. You know what I'm saying? But I might turn the switch off if that's the only switch. I'm still going to test my voltage. And I'm not going to trust a little ticker, little sniffers. I don't trust them. I'm going to test it with my voltmeter. That's just me. Even today, I hang plenty of ceiling fans, luminaires, different things. And when I owned my company in Texas before we moved back to Virginia, I did additions, I did attics, remodels, the electrical part. Yeah, I was still active in my contracting business. And I had to juggle a lot of hats. But I did not take it for granted. None of it. So that's all I'm saying. If somebody's going to put a video on TikTok, I would rather err in the side of caution. That's just me. So again, I got my haters over there on TikTok who want to come in there and say, oh, Paul, you tore the guy up because he was. I didn't tear him up. All I said is that he's technically not correct. 277 480 is not high voltage. Then I proceeded to give my belief. You don't believe it? I don't give a shit. I'm just saying that's how I believe the NEC is structured. Why? And then people came in and said, well, OSHA says differently, or this standard says differently, or this NECA standard says differently. They're not adopted standards. I don't have to follow damn OSHA in a residential application. Screw that. I don't have to follow NECA. That's not an adopted standard. The closest thing that I get is the NEC. And if the NEC is not going to give me any guidance on it, I have to derive what I believe the NEC is telling me. And I believe the NEC is telling me 2,000 volts or less is low voltage. 1,000 volts or less, specific installation parameters you have to follow. Over 1,000, specific installation parameters you have to follow regardless of the voltage class. That's what I'm thinking, right? Now, 2,000 volts or over 2,000 volts, 2001 and up to 35,000, truly medium voltage, truly have to follow certain installation parameters. I have to be qualified person to work on that, as it said. You get me? You see my mentality? Once I get over 35,000, I'm thinking high voltage. That's the way I have to teach it. And you can disagree, and the talking heads on TikTok and other social media can say whatever the hell they want. I'll keep blocking you. I won't listen to your opinions. I don't care what you have to say. Reality is, that's the way I teach it, and that's the way I'm going to teach it from here until eternity, because I have to teach the NEC. I don't care what your local company does. I don't care what your jurisdiction does. I'm only here to teach what I think the NEC is trying to say, even though it doesn't say it. I have to break these things down for people so that it's easier for them to palate. And do I say things that other people are scared to say, that they may not say it because they fear they may be wrong? I say it. Whether you want to take it and believe it, that's up to you. All right, let's spin the wheel. Give away some goodies here. I'll get you on the drawing at least. And if I've offended you today, so what? I don't really care. I'm here to teach you. I'm not here to coddle you, is what I tell people. I used to tell my employees that too. I'm here to teach you, tell you, I'm not here to coddle you. All right, Battle Electric. All right, Battle, I think you already have Fast Tracks tubes. So let's spin you again. Get you in for something else. I'm also not the kind of guy, folks, that'll give you a little information and leave you hanging where you really going, all right, I still didn't get what the guy was saying. I'm going to say things over and over so bluntly that if you walk away not knowing what I'm saying, that's your damn fault. You get me? And that's the difference in educator. You do not want an educator who is coddling to your needs, simply saying things you want to hear, simply saying things that are not controversial so they don't get called out. Call me out. Megohm meter testing, I've put it on the table. Call me out. Voltage ranges, I don't care what OSHA says. I don't care what any of them say because I've looked at them. They're all over the place. That's their opinion. I install based on the NEC. That is what I describe to you how I believe the NEC functions because it does not define low voltage. No different than it doesn't define high voltage. And it does its best to define medium voltage because of the wiring methods and installation that's required under those specific articles for medium voltage applications. That's the only way I can develop my thought process on it. Okay. Call me simple-minded, but that is the only way that I can do it. Spin it again, Jonathan, because you got the same freaking thing. It's stuck on the wheel or something. I am also not politically correct. Jesus. All right. I thought it was the same damn thing again. All right. You are in the drawing for a trade hog, my friend. So you're in the drawing, Jonathan, to get trade hog. All right, let's spin again. That's why y'all couldn't hear me on that other screen. I had removed my, and so you couldn't hear me when my camera's not in the background. I don't know why I did that. Brain fart, I guess. All right, Alberto V. Alberto V, you're in the drawing for conductor length card. We have sold a lot of those conductor length cards. I think they're just neat because you can accurately, even depending on the temperature, you can actually depict on how much conductor is still in a reel. We have a Pull Pro. You can use this to calculate how much conductor is still in the Pull Pro. So that's pretty cool. Anywho, all right. And you say you could do that with an ohms meter and use the resistance that are in the NEC. You can, and we use that method, but it does change with ambient temperature. So depending on whether you're doing your measurement in cold weather or warm weather, it can vary, but there's a margin of error to be aware of. All right, let's do this again. And the card is more just a novelty, okay? Like our voltage drop. Did I mention we're also getting these new hat clips that are coming with logos on them? We're going to get, first one's going to have a plow wheel on it. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And yes, we will give some of those away here on Coffee Hour once we get them in. That won't be till next month, though. So that probably won't be to the last quarter, but it will be in the drawing once we get past September. Okay, so you might win one of those. All right, Paul, I think you already have the 2023 grounding and bonding course, right? Paul, okay, Paul, I'll put you down for the slate, and I'll just put you down for a slate, and if you win the slate on September 30th, there you go. JC, it's rigged. All right, so I went on, Paul, instead of the 2023 course, you just want the slate. I can tell you the slate is vastly cheaper than that course, but hey, I got you down, Paul. I'll put you down for the slate. All right, let's one more spin. JC says it's rigged. It might be, JC. Half the this doesn't work half the damn time, so it could be rigged. It could be rigged. It's not me picking it, though. I'm not figure that out. All right, Rob Thompson, you are in the drawing for an ohms wheel coin. All right, and the ohms wheel coins are available on our website, by the way, but they look kind of like this. But this is exclusive. This is a CMECP coin. Use CMECPs. If you haven't gotten your CMECP coins, make sure you reach out to me. That way I can get you your coin. All right, folks. You heard me rant. You heard me talk about it. No apologies. For those out there who say that my explanation of voltage levels is wrong, get over it. I ain't changing this old dog. If you want to say I'm wrong, that's like having a bad meal at McDonald's and going, there, the whole restaurant sucks. Well, McDonald's is a bad example. But at the end of the day, just because you may disagree with me with one thing doesn't mean you have to disagree with me for everything I say, right? But again, if you do and all of a sudden you don't like me because of one thing I said, piss off. I don't need you. Till next time, folks, stay safe. But you that do follow me, I appreciate you. God bless. really think this shit's rigged? Let me spin it. Y'all really think this shit's rigged? Really? Let me just do it. Okay, let me pick somebody. I pick Cray Cray. Oh, Scatter gets it. Sorry, told you it wasn't rigged. All right, you're in the drawing for the grounding and bonding course, probably our second most popular course on our website. Learning, you'll blow your mind when it comes to grounding and bonding stuff that's in there. The graphics, the illustrations are freaking amazing. So good luck to you if you can win that. Skiaddle, skididdly doo. If you can win that, that's great. The drawing's on September 30th. Okay, I told you it pays to hang around. Till next time, folks. God bless.